I want to know Christ and the power of his rising, share in his suffering, conform to his death. When I pour out my life to be filled with the Spirit, joy follows suffering and life follows death. I want to know Christ and the power of his rising, share in his suffering, conform to his death. When I pour out my life to be filled with the Spirit, joy follows suffering and life follows death. This comes from Philippians chapter 3. Verse 10 of the Holy Bible. It's not the Church of Satan, sorry. The Holy Bible, Philippians chapter 3, verse 10. Let me sing it one more time, because I really basically looking at everybody getting to know the song. One moment, I have to get something from my nose. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Such a cozy day in beautiful Los Angeles, sweet Beverly Hills. And this is what we're looking at. We're looking at a lot of people are like, you know, fuck Jesus. Don't need fucking the cross. You know, because people are healthy, people are rich, they're making their money. Maybe they're not rich, but we're talking about just people in their delusion think that they're rich. So most people really do think that they're rich. And they're healthy, like I say. They're going to get up in the morning, they exercise, they do their smoothies. And, you know, they know that suffering and pain, whatever, either one, is a choice. And they're just filled with a really good, edgy spirit, and, you know, they just don't think that anything bad can happen because it's all good, and maybe they cheat, maybe they're whores. I want people to know that they're slamming the whole Christ thing because they don't know who Christ is. And they need to be advised and informed and introduced to their best friend on earth, and that's Jesus Christ. So this is what you want to sing when you're in that need and you're in that frustration and you're just not getting it, you know. This is what you sing. I want to know Christ and the power of his rising, share in his sufferings, conform to his death. When I pour out my life to be filled with his Spirit, joy follows suffering and life follows death. Alright, if you're willing to take up the cross and follow Christ, then that's great. I was going, excuse my look, it's one of those mornings where, you know, this doesn't really matter. So many good things are happening right now in my life that it doesn't matter if I look bad or good. And that's what we want to be. That is when we're talking about your joy follows suffering. And, you know, the inevitable is joy. Now, men, you want to know Christ. And I was going to name this video Glorified Darkness, because that's basically what I feel everybody is at right now. They're into glorifying how wonderful and dark their life is because they what? They push the envelope. And somehow they think that they must not show courtesy to people and others, that they do not need to even be held accountable. Listen, there are not, I'm going to tell you a secret right now. There are, well, there are, of course, out there, but it's very rare to find. I'm going to tell you, not a lot of people frozen. Okay, that's Much better put in my tinges I can't speak. It's just because I had a molecular, some bacteria, focalitis or whatever, because I can't grow whiskers. Trying to, you know, atom myself up for another atom, atom for atom kind of thing, and I just can't. I'm having a hard time growing the whiskers, so please forget this. It sounds like agitation. But listen, I'm going to tell you something. It is very difficult to find people out there that have goodness in their heart. At least enough goodness, okay? Maybe everybody has some goodness. But I'm talking about a rare goodness. Just a goodness of appreciating certain things. Things of better class. Things of more higher prestige. Not the normal Walmart or Target or television that you watch. But there's not... I'm not even talking materially, just talking about giving your time to somebody freely and wanting to care for someone because you're genuinely empathetic and compassionate. It's very hard to find goodness in people out there. There's not a lot of people out there that have goodness. And demographics might be everything. I'm happening to be in Los Angeles. So it's going to start this video called The Glorified Darkness, and that might be the name of the show anyways, but the video. I think it's going to be I Want to Know Christ or Philippians 3:10. I'm not sure what the name of this video is. But let's just dig into this and let's get down to really hairy armpits, right? Let's get down to business. Well, listen, I want to ask you, who wears the mask? Who wears the mask? Because listen, we must see us. Pardon, it keeps freezing. We have to see ourselves. So who is wearing the mask? And in wearing the mask, we put a smile on our face or on our masks. And we've what? We've glorified the darkness. We've stamped glory on top of a very dark face. If you take off the glory mask, correct, with a smile on it, so you give everybody what they want to see, but you take it off and you give people what they don't want to see, which is your face, yourself. But in actuality, with relativism, ethical relativity, and moral code, and moral relativism, not just ethical relativity, people want to see the real face, don't they? This is really what you want to see. Correct? You want to know that I'm not perfect. Because a lot of people think that I am. Just because of my iconic star image, you know the drill. My dramatist persona, my modeling for supplementations, and all the way to love I do. And I show that you can get beyond your smut, and I will encourage you in the gay community to be more than what you are. I'm doing that, and men are totally rejecting it because they're not ready to get on their knees and say that they need Lord Jesus Christ. They can't see that they're full of pride, and they're busy what? Believing the delusion that they are the best. Everybody, there is no one better than another person, and there's no one who is the best, because we are all the best. And oftentimes when people say, oh, the best, meaning themselves, they're not including other people. They're only talking about themselves being on center stage on their soapbox. So we have a problem with that. So listen, I mean, even if you, even if you get your electronic or electric bionic cock shock rocked, you're not going to have a smile on your face. So even if, my point is, even if you get the best dungeon sex underground in San Francisco with a Filipino, this is the big thing. Everybody always comes to me and says, God, Tyler, you know everything. I do. It's not that I know everything, it's that I even know people that know everything, and they like let me know what is happening. It's kind of funny. But if you get your electronic bionic cock shocked, in one of our places that we do fistings through machines and robotic fisting is what we call it. Because pornography, like fashion and the celebrity and music, is all political, correct? So, in a whore of ourselves that does it on the floor for attention, we still have an unhappy heart. So you might as well keep your mask off because you're shock-rocked, and even if you put a smile on your face, you're not trying to cry because your electric bionic cock has been shock-rocked. People know below that smile, you still have a normal, heavy heart like a human being. So, are you wrapped up in Dungeons and Dragons? In your own mouth? I mean, are you that sick, like a volcano ready to erupt in your face and asshole? Because of your mouth, because of what you see and what you say. That may not be very kind. Gentlemen, this is what's happening. People are refusing to take off their masks, and they give you a big smile at Trader Joe's. Let's be really upfront about it. We all love Trader Joe's. We love the energy and the people. But listen, you know how many jerks go there and smile right in your face? They wouldn't even give you a telephone access code to authenticate yourself if you needed to create a dispute at a fraud department. They would not even do that if it had to do with something where they would have to lay down their life or lay down money, unless you stamp charity on it or non-profit organization. In general, people may not be that nice, and you've got to keep your eyes out on that. It's true. So, you want to know Christ and the power of His healing. Because in the liberated mind, which I support liberated minds, it can be very dark and very gloomy. And really monstrous, let's be factual. So, what I want to know is, in your head, because I speak in metaphors and figuratively, but in your head, can you possibly be the policyholder savings dividend statement? I want you to come out with your own statistics, because you are your own statistician. You need to come up with your own numbers of what works, what doesn't work. You need to hold on to the policy that you choose that works for you, and it saves something, and it increases a good dividend statement once a year. What I'm asking you to do is, when you know Christ and you take off your mask, you see your savings and you see your losses as they are. And then, of course, when you pour out your life for other people, Trader Joe's, wherever you are, the auto insurance companies that people are thinking that they're going to be robbed by you, you pour out your life, and then you'll be filled with His Spirit. See, in psychology, psychologists are really looking at why the human is so resilient. And this is it. First of all, when you are a gay man and you are full of yourself, and you meet a liberated Jew from New York, now living in Hollywood wanting to be a star, you see that he may not be living it up, but you see in his aura, because he's very elegant, but he may be very cheap. And so when you both get something in Los Angeles, he gets the more expensive and you get the least expensive, and he says, let's cut it down the middle, and you end up paying more because you're paying more of his than what you even spent. But yet you are full of yourself, so you just kind of let it go because you got to be cool. You don't want to look cheap. But behind the mask, you're frowning and you're not happy because you're not sure if you're just a mental playlist and your unobserved time. You know, it's not worth living when you pick up these types of dates or these types of friends that are very nasty. And they are living their bliss, of course. They have rights to do that. I teach that all the time. But you cannot stomach it, because if you stomach it and you stand up to him, you're not going to be around a good-looking guy, even though he's cheap. Might be really handsome. Though you see through him and he somehow becomes your muse, and you won't stay around to see if he's going to show you what you want to see, because inevitably you are sizing him up and you are sniffing around, not just him doing it to you. So you're willing to do this because he is willing to be your friend after stiffing you. Sorrow, loneliness, devastation, emotional pain are things that may come out of this for the next day. So what do? You go out because you have errands to run, and you put on your mask. So this man that you went out with, like we just stated about, not cutting, correctly who pays what, but cutting down the middle and making you pay for more of his food because he's a liberated Jew. He is using you not for sex, certainly not before the food and not after the food, but just as a friend to get to know you, when really he is sizing you up and is sniffing around. But are you another vain motherfucker yourself, with your hand in his back pocket? You do want him to pay for the meal. See how this drips? It's medicine. Excuse my hair. It's very terrible. Excuse my medicine. But anyways, when you are a man, you find out a man is rich, you want him to pursue you. If he doesn't, you put on your mask, correct? Because when men find out that you are a man and you have manners, they want to be with you. But when they find out you're poor and you have a soul, they usually reject you and walk the other way. If those aren't the ideal reasons why they're going to reject you, excuse me, I can't talk, I have to put on my dentures. One of the reasons why they might reject you before this is because you have hemorrhoids and you don't take it up the ass. This is what a man thinks is being responsible, but it lacks class, attractiveness, because he himself is jealous and he's willing to use sex as a weapon, even though you're not using sex on the first date. He's working it in because he's a manipulator. So you've decided to stand up to a predatory society. But does that work? Probably not. Jesus says turn the other cheek, but he doesn't say let the voyeurs look at you through your window and let the predators and pedophiles molest you, and then you ask them to come in because they're your enemy. When the Lord says be kind to your enemy, he doesn't say keep going back to the pedophile. Stop and think about that, gentlemen. Men do not think they have what they want. They don't think what they have is enough. So they're what? They covet. They become jealous and envious, and they're willing to murder and put people on drugs and infect them with HIV. It is just not right for gay men to judge or size you up for you being a loser. Am I wrong or am I right? The faggot whores are doing that to men, and it separates them from learning a community of psychological masculinity, or wanting to know Christ. Man was of his word. Listen, men may not be nice to you like they weren't nice to Jesus, the King of the Jews. And we have to give Jewish people a chance and be nice to them because Adolf Hitler screwed them over. Well, you know what? The Jews screwed over Jesus as well. So if you look at comic philosophy, take off your mask. Be who you are. Because you don't need to impress anybody in LA except yourself, especially the Jewish people. Listen, the Jewish people might be tight and cheap, but the Armenian is clever. And if you're going through a revolving door and you're a Jewish person and you're in front of the Armenian will find a way to get in front of you. He's better than the Chinese. And I'm partially Armenian, and I had a very interesting date with a liberal Jew. He was actually a very famous man from New York. Actually, okay, that's what my video is about. It's about my date with a liberated Jew. I was going to title the video, Be Cautious of the Liberal Jew from New York who's living in Hollywood. I don't know. Jewish people, they need to stop running around acting for handouts. Because they look like entitled cunts. I've had so many of them lie to me and rob me. It's interesting. I don't know why I don't hate Jewish people. I love them. They're great people. But they're so cheap. They're so tight. They allowed Jesus Christ to be crucified. And they want you to give them a soft hand because Adolf Hitler screwed them over. Jewish people screwed Jesus over, and we're needing to take responsibility and hold Jewish people accountable. So we're all greedy. We all want a free ticket because we're all thinking that Hitler fucked all of us over because we feel the pain of the Jews. And we've been walked over with other people's dirty money. And so the Jewish people, the gay Jewish liberals from New York, in fact, are not essentially the only entitled cunts. So be cautious of the Jewish nuts cases living in Los Angeles because they are from New York. And they know how to undermine you. This happens all over. It's 2018. And there's blacks and the Mexicans. And they don't know what to do with me. Because I'm just a hot piece of white meat. So I cling closely to Jewish people. I'm not after white power. I'm not a white supremacist. Okay, I'm not pro-KKK. But because of Hitler fucking Jesus, pardon me, because of Hitler fucking over the Jews, it does not mean we need to be extra nice to the Jews and forget the Jews fucked over Jesus. See, everybody in this formula fucked over somebody, and it's the Armenian that has to stand up to all you Jews. The principle is that it's not about the money or how I got stiffed on a date with a liberal Jew, but it's how I can forgive quickly and how I can love mercy. Holy Spirit said to invite him into your heart. That is the fucking Jewish man even. All people are invited into your heart and my heart at Social Alchemy Project at the New World Christ Church. The rejection is what hurts, not the actual stiffing me, okay? It's just the rejection. And that somebody thinks that they can demise me when I was completely conscious that he was totally self-absorbed. He was disinterested in me as a person, but he made me look like that he loved me as a friend, and he would return my calls, but he never did. Because he's an entitled cunt. Now, gentlemen, this is happening all over. This is not just me. Okay? But you have to be like Tarzan, okay? You have to swing from the high and swing to the low. And in your suggestive destiny, you have to say, Shirley MacLaine talks about the suggestive destiny, is that I am not marketing money when I put on a mask. I take off the mask and I'm marketing what? The true soul. This is what, alright, creates you taking off the mask and not glorifying the darkness. Gay men take what doesn't belong to them, and it's nobody's fault after you hear me tell you that. I'm forewarning you. You have this unsecure underwriting department in your mind that needs to be cautious of fraud and if you're being stiffed, okay? And the rules that protect you from people that are going to rob you. The problem is that I didn't think that I needed to stand up to him because I'm still working in the Wizard of Oz. I want to be Judy Garland and I want Paramount to make me very famous. But in hindsight, oh, pardon me, I can barely talk. You got to be the Wizard of God. Okay, the Wizard of God says, say something. He's an angry man. This road ends at the cemetery. All roads end at the cemetery. We all die. And we don't need to go around stiffing people and having this social defiance because we're the liberated mind. When we're the liberated mind, it doesn't mean we have to go out and slap the crap out of Jewish men when they screw us over. Men are fearful of being homeless, and they're already being food insecure. They're insecure of not having food, and they don't feel like they're a true guest in life. So what is your arsenal story? Is it good or it's bad? Well, basically, we need populations like the Jewish population to not be trying to go ahead and rob everybody because they're cheap in the tight. We need to end the glorified darkness of Hollywood. Hollywood's filled with Jewish people that are gay and self-absorbed. But we've glorified a darkness. We've said it's all about Hollywood. It isn't. It isn't. It may be, and I talk about how it may be, but in what we're talking about is, do you have a social skill default? Like, are you able to go out there and mix with Jewish people and stand up to them when they are socially being unjust to you? It's just stiffing you at a dinner, making you pay for more than what you don't supposed to pay for. In the social skills default, you got to understand that all roads lead to the cemetery. There's always going to be gloom and darkness. But you don't have to keep it glorified. You can call it what it is, and then you can go into your artistry, your iconic star image, your dramatist persona, your modeling, your acting, your singing, your lecturing, your study, your academics, such as myself, linking it to the arts, being a wonderful playwright, understanding something about the psyche, the psychology of an actor, being able to know something about character development, because all roads lead to a cemetery. Gettysburg, World Trade Center, Baghdad, AIDS, and even standing up to these Jewish people, because they are not going to serve you without judgment. They are going to make sure that they are the special needs people. And God doesn't have grandchildren. He only has children. So there's no leftovers. There's nothing that you can do. Let's talk about the real deal. There's nothing that the world can do with liberated Jews or Donald J. Trump or Wall Street. We're giving the black men a chance. We're giving them a total break, because most of us are running around thinking like, we might as well marry a black man. There's so much readiness to love and be loved by these people. So what I want you to do is make sure when you're working with people, do they know Christ? Do they have a mask on, okay, of greed, corruption, and deception? Because Social Alchemy Project is an anti-greed it's an anti-corruption human greed disabler. Put on my dentures so I can speak. And we've created the university, the New World Life Church, dentures, to go ahead and raise interest, because this is one thing you need to do. in the midst of you standing up against the glorified darkness is Philippians 3:10. I want to know Christ and the power of his rising, share in his suffering, conform to his death. When I pour out my heart to be filled with his Spirit, joy follows suffering and life follows death. I want to know Christ and the power of his rising, share in his suffering, conform to his death. When I pour out my life to be filled with his Spirit, joy follows suffering and life follows death. So be careful. Remember, where the money trail leads you will lead you to lies. So be careful when it comes to matters of money and the mask and masculinity. And keep an eye on that glorified darkness, because you want to know Christ and you want to pour your life in the spirit of life, and by the suffering you're going to find joy. I guarantee you, because in psychology you are resilient. You always come back. I love you.